from different sectors of society. And as we move on, we would like to advise the general public that when applying for pass, the procedure is first, you think about what you want to apply for, and you send the application to rgpf@spicel.com. The application will come to the Secretariat at Police Headquarters. It will be perused and considered, and it will be printed, signed, scanned, and returned to the sender in most cases. We have a number of persons applying for passes in the area of farming. We have caregivers. We have business community owners. We have people with pets and many other areas that require attention during the period of the implementation of the Emergency Powers Act. For the farmers, what we are requiring from you is that you give the following details. You must give your name, where you live, the location of your lands or your animals, a contact telephone number, and how frequent you would like to visit those locations. You also have to state if there will be anyone else accompanying you to those locations. For caregivers, we need your name and the location of your workplace. Some caregivers, we may advise that you may need to sleep in for the period and move when the curfew is released. Business owners, we understand that they must go to the premises to check, mostly on a daily basis, on the chill rooms and freezers to ensure that there may not be any loss of perishable items. We have a lot of persons in the community with pets that is at a different location to where they live. It depends on the situation. We may ask that you relocate the pet, or even you relocate yourself to where the pet is, so we will restrict too much movements. The notification of approval will go from police headquarters via email back to the applicant, who will then print a copy and carry with them whenever they move. For farmers, what you will do, you will contact the nearest police station to you, give your name and address, and they will guide you accordingly. Any contact to be made with police headquarters following this will be from the station closest to you. I would also like to remind members of the public that all passes must be approved by the Office of the Commissioner of Police. There may be many applications coming to the Secretariat, but I must warn you that not all applications may be approved. Based on the circumstances, we have to determine, because if we are to give everyone passes to move, that will be defeating the purpose of the restrictions. And as you know, the enemy we are fighting is one that is invincible. We cannot see. We don't know where it is at. So we have to restrict the movement for the protection of everyone in this country. At this time, I would like to hand over to ASP Holly Judge, who will continue to give you some more information.
Mike. I just want to reiterate at this time that the spirit of the act is to preserve the Grenadian life by tourniqueting the spread of the COVID-19 coronavirus. And for this reason, the Emergency Powers COVID-19 Act of 2020 facilitates the controlled movement of key business organizations and institutions to ensure a measure of stability. So sections 2, subsection 2 of the Act caters for, and I want to read it. The regulation shall not apply in the case of medical emergency. So where a person has a medical emergency and has to move, for that reason will be facilitated by the police. Section 5 covers the closure of business and exemptions, and that is where stores are allowed to be opened and suppliers, business suppliers, are allowed to apply to the Commissioner of Police under Section 5B for the purpose of facilitating them to provide supplies. Section 5H deals with licensed security businesses so that security guards can continue to provide that service. Section 7 deals with the issue of essential workers. And this is where Superintendent John Charles was speaking to the farmers and the caregivers. But all such applications, as he alluded to, must be submitted in writing to the Commissioner of Police to facilitate such movements. And you can send your emails. We're taking applications through emails to avoid a movement of people on rgpf@spicesile.com. So at this time, we'll open up for questions from the media.
So members of the media that have questions will follow the usual protocol. By lifting your hands, we'll recognize you and let you know that when you're on. So who will be first this morning? Questions from the media, and the questions are not necessarily confined to the presentation this morning. Rena Pierre, you're recognized.
Yes, my first question is relating to the roadblocks. How, well, would the roadblocks be for 24 hours? Because last night, coming out from work, I noticed that where a roadblock was placed, it was no longer there and no officers were there at all, coming down to that area throughout. So is it a situation where the officers, I know that you would have shifts, but at a certain time would the officers leave that particular roadblock there?
What I can say to you, Rena, is the fact that our operation is strategic in nature. So when you might see a roadblock today, you may not necessarily see a roadblock there tomorrow. That roadblock might move for strategic reason. But yes, to answer the first part of your question, our roadblocks are for 24 hours, but it can move.
Okay. Also, I wanted to ask, could you tell me the persons that were arrested over the 24 hours, what they were arrested for?
11 of the 14 persons was arrested for violating the curfew, and 3 of the persons were arrested for other minor criminal offenses.
Okay. Understanding that there are particular days for shop owners, local shop owners, to cater for Grenadians, as it relates to the passes for the suppliers, would the suppliers be able to supply the shops throughout the week or specific days as well?
The suppliers can only move on the day that the shops will be open. So on days that are shopping days, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, the suppliers can move on those days to resupply those shops. And I'm glad you asked this question, because on another program this morning, people were asking about supplying the village shops. The suppliers do apply for the permission, and they can move on the days that the shops will be open. There are 2 questions that we want to answer via messages that were sent in. The first one asks, good morning, what measures are in place for persons, especially farmers, who do not have access to computers to send in their application? What do they do? Mr. Charles or Mr. George will take this question.
Okay, in a case like that, what the farmer will do is to contact the nearest police station to them and then we'll handle it from there.
We have seen some creativity. Some farmers have contacted persons who have that medium. So we have seen applications of that sort. And some persons would have used a cell phone as well to create such an application.
There is another question that someone is asking. Can you explain if a pass is to be used by a designated person or different people can use the same pass? Question is whether different people can use the same pass, one pass being used by multiple people.
Regarding the pass and hold of passes, if you have a group of people accessing the same location, they will get the pass in the form of a letter that will include all the persons who are required to travel names. And once they are traveling by groups, one person would have possession of that letter with all the names to show at any checkpoint.
Give an example. Give an example.
Example, you have a lot of caregivers. Sometimes they work in clusters and they might have 5 or more persons working at the same location. So the names would be included in one pass and they will carry along that with them whenever they move.
Any other questions from the media?
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Hutchinson, you're recognized.
Okay. I have had a conversation with a farmer who says that upon receiving the passes, a limited time to access the farm was given. I cannot validate that information, but I just want you to clarify that to us, please, as to whether or not farmers are required to be on the farm for a specific period of time once they are granted these passes.
The time allotted for farmers to visit the farm is between the hours of 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. We decided that this is enough time for them to do what they have to do on the farm and return home. If they have any further queries or things they would like to do on the farm, they will have to contact the nearest police station, as I said before, and that will be discussed and considered.
Sherry and Noel, you're recognized. Really, Sherry?
Cherian, you need to unmute your mic.
Oh, so okay,
You're on, Cherian.
it has to do with small shops. Some of them are asking that because they would have sold so much of the items on Wednesday, and well, it's limited time between 8 to 12, and then the businesses who reimburse them also have within 8 to 12 in order for them to restock. How will that be feasible for them? Being as, you know, it's the same 4-hour block that they would have to move from shop to shop to restock them.
What we do not want to do, we do not want to extend the days for people to be moving about. Remember, this is a 24-hour curfew. And if we want to make exception or too much exceptions, we will be defeating the purpose. So while it might be inconvenient for some shop owners, this is the condition that currently exists, and this is the condition that they would have to work with. The day that shops are opening is also the days that the suppliers can move around to resupply those small shops. Because giving another day to the suppliers is actually making the curfew null and void in some sense.
Okay.
Irina Pierre?
Yes, I have a couple more questions. One, as it relates to essential workers and the use of telemachines, are they allowed to? Because officer did stop an essential worker from using a telemachine yesterday. And also, what about training as it relates to dealing with some of, dealing with the situation now for some of the police, especially the younger ones, because it also had an altercation yesterday where one of the essential workers' documents were destroyed by an officer.
To answer your first question first, Rina, it stands to reason that if a day is given as a grocery day or a shopping day, people would need to access monies to be able to shop. So once you're out of your home for the shopping days, it is understood that you need to use the teller in some cases to be able to get the necessary cash to be able to purchase what you need. So definitively, to answer your question, yes, you're allowed to use the ATM. There is no restrictions on the ATM. There is restrictions on the movement of people. And on that day, the curfew has given is eased by 4 hours to allow people to go to the ATM, get their cash, and make whatever purchases that they do need to make. I think there was another question that you asked.
Yes. Well, another question is training for the younger officers as it relates to how they're dealing with persons regarding a situation that happened yesterday with an essential worker, documents being destroyed and complaints of being misusing their powers.
To answer this question, I believe that anyone encountering this type of issues, what they should do on the spot is to ask for the supervisor and have a discussion with the supervisor so the matter can be resolved.
There is a question we have on our Facebook page that asks who is responsible for monitoring those that are asked to self-quarantine. The Ministry of Health, in conjunction with the police, have some responsibility to do that. But I want to implore to the public that if you know someone should be self-quarantined and they are not, we do want to know about it. This curfew is about preventing the spread of the COVID-19 virus. And we all have our parts to play. The Ministry of Health is playing their part. Law enforcement, we are playing our part. The citizens of Grenada need to play their part. So if you see something that you think we need to know, please let us know. And Rena, the question that you have asked, if police officers are behaving in unprofessional manner, we want to know that as well. We do have a mechanism in place to investigate and discipline our own. We have been doing this and we will continue to do that. Mr. Hutchison, you had your hand up. Do you have a question, sir?
Yes, I want to go back to one of the statements you made earlier regarding the video that was in circulation. You said 3 persons were in police custody, assisting police with the investigation with regard to that particular video?
3 persons are in police custody, yes.
Okay.
Chair Noel?
Yes, my question has to do with the application. You said send it via the email. What I want to know is once that email is sent, what's the response time period?
Response time for application approval.
The response time would vary because as it is now, we have a lot of application coming in. So what we are advising that if you didn't receive any response within maybe 24 hours, you can contact the nearest police station to you, and then we will try to see how we could expedite it. But we have a lot of application we are attending to.
Just a follow-up, is that application form a standard one and for the passes, and is it retrievable from the RGPF Facebook page, email or so?
No, the form is not standard because everybody's situation will be different. So we review each application on a case-by-case basis, then we give an approval.
So it's, I'm just trying to get clarity. So it's actually somebody requesting via a letter permission rather than there is an actual form that you fill in and send in?
Exactly, and that is through the email address of the RGPF.
Okay, so there is no application form. You send your email.
No. You design your own application form with all the details required.
Okay, so I think that was a public because they were actually looking to find out where can they access that particular application form. So thanks for the clarity.
I want to address a question that is being sent in to us regarding marketing board and whether or not any provisions are in place for marketing board on the days that shops are opening. Now, we have to appreciate that this is the RGPF, and we are responsible by and large for law enforcement. RGPF, Marketing Board as a statutory body have to decide if they want to open and whether or not they will need a pass or permission so to do. So I'm not in a position to answer for businesses and why they're open or if they're open and whether or not they make an application or not. Businesses will have to make that determination. If they do not fall under one of the exceptions, then they need to make an application for permission so to do. There is a question that somebody's asking, was the police informed about the COVID-19 person who left the island? I can confirm here that some information was received, and the answer to the question is yes, we were at some stage informed. Mikey Hutchison?
I remember I believe it was the commissioner stating that the gas station for the refill of the essential workers was going to be identified for the north side of the island. I'm not sure if that information was already published or made available to the public.
That information has not yet been made available, but I can assure you that much more than the north is currently being considered. There are a number of proposals at the table to make more than one gas station open at some point. That is still being discussed at the upper level, and when that information becomes available, we will make it available to the public. Rena Pierre?
Yes, just a little bit as it relates to the gas station again. Understanding that we had a congestion at Deco Industry yesterday. Also, I know that that industry also sells cooking gas. Now, the only gas they sell is Ruby's, and there are persons who would like cooking gas at their home from Sol and Spice Gas, which is the colored one. Is anything as it relates to that catered for Grenadians? Because while we had a lot of people buying gas or more than what they would have been doing, there are other people who didn't get at the time. So how is that being addressed?
Really, I think this is purely common sense on behalf of the people who desire us of acquiring those gas. It is a shopping day for grocery, and we'll consider gas an essential item. And so on those days that are set aside for shopping, of course, people should be able to be allowed to go to get their cooking gas. This is an essential item. So I don't think police officers will be strict or prevent you from doing that on those days. Any other questions? If not, we want to thank you again for joining us. Tomorrow morning at 8:30, we will be on again. The link that we have sent to you will cover a few days, so we do not have to send the link again. So you will sign on to the appropriate day for the brief. And so we will see you tomorrow morning at 8:30. My name is Vanny Corwin, Superintendent in charge of Community Relations Department. And with me this morning was Superintendent John Charles and Assistant Superintendent Holly George. Thank you and have a great day.